Hey ladies, and welcome back to the Rooted Mama podcast. Now, I'm gonna try not to cry because this is the promised last episode of this season. And I'm not sure how long I'm gonna be gone, but I will be gone for a while. I've been giving y'all a little bit of priming, a little preparation. We are moving on to our homestead, and so that's gonna take all of our energy and it's ready. So, like, we are almost there, y'all. So, celebrate with us while we're gone. But for now, like I said, this is the last episode. And this one is part two. We started off part one last week talking about the first two children that we own. And we talked about the miscarriage, the loss of our first child, and then the birth of our second child, our daughter. And in this episode, we're going to continue talking about the postpartum experience that I had paired with just her first few years of life and like kind of the things that led us down the path to ultimately deciding to have a unassisted home birth and also a wild pregnancy. Like people often talk about the birth part, but we also had what is called a wild pregnancy, which means that I did not have any formal prenatal care. I did have prenatal care, that caring for myself, but I didn't go to anybody, a midwife or a doctor or anything like that. I know it sounds pretty wild and crazy. We explain in detail how we got to that point and kind of the preparation that we did spiritually, mentally, emotionally, leading up to the birth of our son, our third child, at home. But before we get into the episode, I do have a few things that I wanted to talk about. So, the first thing is that if you are someone who has been listening to this podcast and enjoying it, please take the time to rate us. You can do that on Apple and Spotify. There's usually a spot to say rate the entire podcast. It's not per episode. I know a couple of people have asked me about that. We live in the age of reviews. People really look to the reviews of other people to decide what they're going to do. And if they see good ratings, then they'll want to listen to this podcast. And obviously, if you've enjoyed it to the point of listening to every episode, I think is definitely worth sharing with someone else. Share the knowledge, share the wealth with someone else. And that kind of goes along with the next thing, which is that if you've benefited in any way from the information that I shared or the stories that I've highlighted, share it with someone. Share it with a woman who you think would benefit. It doesn't matter if she's a future mother or a mother already. If you think that she would enjoy listening to these stories, and learn something in the process, please help me out by sharing it with the next person. I'm always trying to build community. It's so important. And I actually talk a lot about this throughout the podcast and on some of my socials. So share the wealth, please. Now, the last thing I'm going to say is that I have put together quite a bit of resources, both free and paid, but most of them are free. And each one has been designed to help someone out there just grow, whether it be grow in their understanding of themselves or grow in their motherhood journey. And all of those resources are available in one place on one website, which I will link in the show notes. So while I'm on this break, I encourage you to head over to that website, look around, and see what might be helpful for you. All right, ladies, let's get into the episode. Welcome to The Rooted Mama, the podcast where motherhood meets wisdom, support, and empowerment. I'm Destynie, a mother on a mission to help women embrace a healed and fulfilling version of motherhood. Whether you're planning for your first baby, navigating pregnancy, or already deep in the parenting journey, each episode features real conversations with women in every stage of motherhood, insights from experts, and practical tips to help you feel grounded and confident.
Hi.
How's your morning going?
I've been awake for 7 minutes.
Very good. So let's get right back into it because we've got a long journey to get through in a short amount of time. But just to recap from last week, we told the beginning of our journey into parenthood. So we were talking about our, like what we knew before we got pregnant, and then our unfortunate miscarriage of Nehemiah. And then we had a quick turnaround to a pregnancy with our daughter. And then went through the whole pregnancy, midwife, stumbles along the way, ended up with the hospital birth that we didn't want. And we started to talk about postpartum. And something that I remembered right away was that I feel like she was like fine in the hospital for like at least a day. And then when we got
Mm-hmm.
went home, because we went home within 24 hours against their advice,
Yeah.
and
At hour
yeah, we're like,
23,
we want
you're
to get
like,
out of
they're
here.
like, wait, you gotta, like, yeah, another hour's gonna make a difference. Bye.
And that's because like in a birth center, in case like we didn't really talk about like the birth center, but we did say like it was homey and
Hmm.
stuff. But that's because in a birth center, you don't stay longer than you need to. So like you go there, you have the baby, and I think you stay for about 4 hours after, just to make sure like everything's okay, that the baby has latched on for breastfeeding, mom's not bleeding profusely or anything like that, and then you can go home. So we were not prepared to like stay in the hospital. We wanted to go home. We were prepared to like go home as soon as the baby was born. So our requirement was that we stayed for 24 hours, and then a pediatrician would like sign off that the baby was okay, and then we went home. Right? Yes.
Yeah.
So then when we got home, she pretty much like started crying, unhappy baby, like as soon as we were home, right? Or was it? I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I remember anyway.
Um, well, it wasn't that bad because we, I don't know, we left at say like, I don't know, it was like 10 in the morning or something
Hmm.
like that. It was a rainy day. We got home and we kind of both had like the like, wow,
We're
like we just have a baby to take care of now.
yeah.
And I don't know, the day was pretty chill, right? It was a
No, you're
Monday,
right.
and
Yes,
I
that
think
day was fine.
the most of the day was pretty chill, and then came the night, which was pretty
Yeah,
unchill
and she
because
wasn't screaming, crying. Then you're right. She wasn't. She was actually
mm-mm,
like just a newborn baby. Like we just kept
mm-hmm.
waking up startled at every sound that she made.
Yeah, pretty much. So like we slept in the bed, and she was in like the co-sleeper, is that what
Yeah,
it's called? Or yeah, basically, the
thing
little
in the middle of the bed.
yeah, and she slept in there, and the two of us woke up for pretty much every sound that she
Yeah.
made because, newborn parents and, you're worried like something's gonna happen because, we're conditioned to believe like things like SIDS just
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So, so like every time we heard, any like little gasp or coo or anything, we both wake up and we like look down at
Uh,
her like, are you
yeah, yeah.
okay? Are you
And this is
okay?
good. Like I'm glad that we I have you for this one because in all the episodes that I've done so far, we haven't gotten into the nitty-gritty of like those
Hmm.
first few days and kind of the programming that makes you afraid. So this is
Hmm.
good that we get to talk about it and like I get to get your perspective on it too because we thought she was going to die. Like right? Essentially like we were
Yeah, like just
yeah.
randomly, like just expire, like just.
And I remember in the hospital, and so like when we did that birth class, I should say beforehand, it was very much a birth class. It was not like a newborn
Hmm.
care class, and neither
Right.
of us had experience with newborns. So in the hospital, they gave us like this rundown quickly, like at discharge, and they're like, keep her head covered because newborns lose like 70% of their body heat through their head. They told us how to like swaddle her, and they're like, keep her swaddled because this soothes her and comforts her. um what else? It was like umbilical cord care, like keep it
Yeah, making sure
dry.
she
Yeah, she
eats,
oh,
like,
it was like
how often
yes,
she
how
should be
often?
eating.
And they said like every 3 hours, which was not her. Like that was not her. They're like, yeah,
Hmm.
babies should feed every 3 to 4 hours. Oh, another one was that the doula told us to change her diaper like every time, right before we feed her or something. Like, cause I remember you were every time she would like wake up or whatever in the night, you would hop up, change her diaper, and then I would feed her. And we did that for like 2 weeks before I was like, this is kind of
Hmm.
ridiculous. Like, we're going through diapers so fast, and like, she
Hmm.
really wasn't even using them. And then we were like
Right.
tracking the poop too, like making sure that she pooped. Like,
Hmm.
it was just so much, so many rules, and like, are we doing this? Are we doing this? But yeah, that first night it was mostly just like us being startled by every sound that she made. And then I really believe the screaming started after her first doctor's appointment. Like, as you brought it up, I was like, no, we had to go to the doctor the next day. So she came home, then the
Yeah.
next day,
Well, yeah, I was gonna say the only time that like she would really scream is if she woke up and she was hungry, and then that would like freak you out and like give you the
yes.
chills, sorta, and like you would like have like a response to her, and then I would have a response to you because like she's
Yeah, I
freaking
would
out,
shake
or you're
every
freaking
time
out
she
because she's
cried,
freaking out, and
like
now I'm
full
freaking out.
blown shaking every time
So
she would cry.
so there was that
Yeah.
for sure.
But
And then like you said with the
yeah.
poop, like just like I guess just touch on the poop, the progression of the poop, which starts as like black tar, like sticky black tar, which is super strange, and it's like kind of hard to
Yeah.
clean, and eventually like it progresses to like actual poop, but it's like not actually hard poop, it's like soft serve poop, right? Because they're just having like
Yeah.
breast milk, so it's that was fun. And I think my favorite part was Destiny plays white noises when we sleep.
Everyone.
She decided that she wanted to play a heartbeat white noise for the baby, right? 'Cause she's like, oh, she's
She's
been,
been
she's
inside.
been inside my womb, and she's used to hearing a heartbeat, and it was like the most like like dramatic horror movie heartbeat ever. Like I was like, no way, shut this thing off. It was so ridiculous. Doom 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 doom. I was like, I feel like I can hear my heartbeat now. Like this is freaking me out. I'm about to have a stroke. Like stop this madness.
Yeah, but I was just like trying anything to like soothe her and get her to sleep in the bassinet or like in, because that was
Hmm.
another thing. Like safe sleep was something that they talked about a lot, or like the world talks about a lot, where the baby needs to be in their in a bassinet next to the bed. They have to sleep alone, swaddled on their back, and like it's
On their
all the things
backs.
that babies hate. Like no baby actually likes
Hmm.
to be this way. They just were they've never known anything but their mother's womb, which is like soft and definitely not flat and hard and cold. And they can't hear their mother's heartbeat. They can't hear all of those sounds. So it's just like a shock to their system. And, we're just like trained that that's what we need to do in order for the baby to be safe because they'll just drop dead. Like perfectly healthy babies just like drop dead and nobody knows why. And I mean, we'll get into it, like what I think happens. But yeah, so that was kind of like the first. Well, that was the first weeks we talked about. But when she started screaming, I think it was really after her. We finally gave her some shots at the doctors. Like I
Hmm.
think she got the first hepatitis B shot or something. I can't remember, but she got like
Yeah.
something there and they took like her blood and stuff, and that was 2 days into her life. And I feel like after that is when she started doing like the blood curdling screams, and
Hmm.
she would do that for like hours at a time. And that's why I said, like, they called it colic. If you guys listen to the podcast, like, you've heard me talk about this before, but they called it colic, and I really think that she was just having like an adverse reaction to some of those early shots. And the reason that we know this to be true now in hindsight is because when she got older, she has a documented like occurrence where she's had adverse reactions to later shots. So we do know that like now, but in hindsight, we didn't know that. And so she was like screaming all the time. And that was just like really traumatic for both of us. Like, I I I still can't really hear her cry, like, and she's 5 years old, but it still is like such a trigger for me. And that was the start, I feel, in addition to the birth not going the way that we wanted, to like a very difficult postpartum experience and like start to her life.
Yeah. I guess the luckily the physician that we went to see, or the pediatrician, she allowed us to kind of space out some of the shots. Like we didn't give her all the shots she was supposed to get that
No,
day
she
all at
didn't.
once. Like
The doctor at the hospital
yeah,
did. So
so
we didn't get any shots, anything at the hospital. But when
hospital,
we
right?
got to the pediatrician, she was adamant that we follow the schedule.
Or maybe it was just early on or something like that. But I do know eventually, like we there was some shots we didn't do
Mm.
when she had asked us. I can't remember
The flu
exactly when that
shots we
was,
didn't
but
get. I know that for sure. And that's
right,
how we know later in
because
life, because when we moved to Connecticut and she was older, started getting the flu shots, and that's where she had the adverse reactions. So,
um Yeah, and I remember specifically, I don't think it was the day that we went to the doctors because it was a Saturday. So maybe we even went to the doctors on Friday, who I can't really
Mhm.
remember, but I just remember it was a Saturday and she cried pretty much from sunup till
Yeah.
sundown. Like it was like 18 hours while when she was awake,
She was crying.
she was crying.
Yeah.
The only time she wasn't crying is when you were breastfeeding her and when she
Yeah.
was sleeping. Like other than that, she was crying nonstop the whole
Yeah.
day. Like in some type of discomfort, like which we couldn't,
No.
even like you putting her on your chest, skin to skin, like sitting down, relaxing, putting on music or sounds or whatever. Like there was
She
no
was
soothing her like at
completely
all.
miserable. Like, yeah, it's just it's just crazy to like even go back there
Hmm.
and think that it was even a reality because it was such a sick place to be. Like, and I would explain it because we were pretty isolated, and this was before COVID even like hit, but we just didn't have any friend like family nearby, and I would explain. I'm like, no, she cries nonstop, and people are like, oh well, babies cry. I'm like, no, this is not the same. Like, I'm talking about like just nonstop, and we could like hear her stomach gurgling and stuff, and I would like tell people that,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, babies have noisy stomachs, which they do. So like, in hindsight, again, hindsight 2020, when we had our son, very noisy stomach but very happy baby, so there was a
Right.
difference.
Not a lot of throw
No.
up, a lot of farts
Yeah.
and burps,
Oh my gosh.
not like projectile vomiting like
Right,
our
she would
daughter
spit
was. And
up
and
all the
it, like
time.
you
She, I
said,
mean,
in hindsight, it seems like she had like acid
she did. She
reflux
had reflux.
at right. Like they say colic, but it's like it doesn't seem like she was gassy. It seems like she had like
Yeah.
acid reflux, like her system was trying to reject
Yeah.
something.
And this is where like I wondered, was it the suctioning that they did, like the intense suctioning of her
Maybe.
nasal cavity or whatever when she was born? There were so many like unknowns, and we were just told that she had colic. And I remember the doctor kept trying to get me to change my diet because I was breastfeeding her, and she was like, well, maybe don't eat broccoli, don't eat beans. And it got to the point where like I really wasn't eating anything. This is like,
You're just eating
yeah,
like
this is like
chicken.
now weeks are going by.
That
Yeah,
was
weeks
it.
are going by now. This baby is like miserable. We're trying like gas drops, we're trying gripe water, like all these things. And I remember looking up stuff and just trying to find anything that you could even give a baby that young, because there's nothing that you can like give them, which is really interesting when you think about the products, the ingredients in the shots, because it's like I couldn't give my baby like gripe water until she was 2 weeks old, but I can inject her with, formaldehyde or whatever is in the shots. I'm sorry. This is not a bash, but it's like we know for a fact that our child now cannot get these shots. So it's like worth it to talk about because we learned it like later on in life that she definitely has bad reactions to them. So I'm just thinking about in those early days where I was like taking out broccoli from my breast milk because the doctor was telling me that this could cause her
Hmm.
issue, but then no second thought about the ingredients and like the interventions that they give to very small children, you know? And at the time,
Right. Right.
I didn't think anything of it. Like we were totally, we wanted to kind of like hold off on these things, but at the same time, we did believe them to be mostly safe. Like we didn't, obviously, we gave them to her. So like we thought we trusted the experts that that they were safe. So like at the time, I wasn't like, I wonder if it's the jab that did this. Like I was like breast milk, maybe it literally is colic. Like I was told I had colic as a baby. So they're like, well, like my mom was like, well, you had it. So you passed it on to your baby. Like, you know, that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
that goes like weeks go on. We're like this. And finally, I don't know. I think she just sort of like evened out around like 3 months. She started to get better. And that was around the time that we switched
Yeah.
her to, I gave up on breastfeeding because I was like, I can't starve myself in order for her to like be happy. And it doesn't seem to work anyway. So we decided to give her like a special formula that was essentially like,
Hmm.
well, it was so broken down that it might as well not have even been formula. It's called Similac Alimentum. Super
Hmm.
expensive. Had to give her the
Yeah.
ready to feed version, like not powder. Um, It was the only smelled
Smelled
awful.
awful.
It was the only thing that she
Like,
would drink because we tried others that were supposed to be like better formulas for sensitive tummies, and those didn't work. Like she was miserable. Like there was no way around. I mean, so finally, about 3 months, she's on this alimentum. She's seeming to like begin to enjoy life a little bit at this point. But I would say like the damage was done for me. Like I was already on my way to becoming like, with the autoimmune disorder, because I had like it was just like a frayed wire. Like I was just so fried. And at that time, the world shut down.
yeah, I was gonna say actually right around this time is when we switched formula to the Gerber, the orange
Oh yeah, yeah,
can,
yeah.
whatever it
So
was,
at some point we were
because
mixing the
we
two
went
because Similac Alimentum was so
Mhm,
expensive. So when she started to
very
like
like
settle in, yeah, right around between like 3 and 4 months, she started to like be okay. We were like, okay, like let's try something else that's like affordable.
but anyways, around that time she was definitely much more like
Yeah,
stable and like she was good with the formula. She wasn't as
yeah. She
agitated,
still spit up all the
screaming and
time, but she
upset.
was like happy.
She did.
She was happier.
Yes, she was much more happy baby.
Yeah,
And then a week
literally.
later, the world shut down.
Yeah. And so this is where like isolation is just not good for anyone, but definitely not good for mothers.
Mhm.
And, our family couldn't visit us to help, our friends couldn't come help. And Shane was an essential worker, so he still went to work every day, and I was just alone with the baby that had like stressed me out so much because she still wasn't a great sleeper. Like there would be times she would like wake up and spit up through her nose, and she like couldn't breathe. It was like all these like
Mhm.
strange things that were going on. Yeah. So fast forward because we have another story to talk about that set the tone for the future because after a
Yeah.
while I was like trying to sort through all of this. Like I started going to work, she started going to daycare, and we were like our relationship was struggling too because it was just under like again, hindsight, we were just under so much stress. Like it was the most difficult time of our life, I would say, because none we weren't getting sleep, we were both working, we had no help, we couldn't go anywhere, like there was no outlet. I couldn't like take her to the park. I think she was like almost a year old by the time they like let kids go to the park. So I remember
Mhm.
putting her in a swing and she was just like shaking because she had never been in a swing before. She didn't know what that was like. Really a sick time
Yeah.
for children, I would say.
Well, yeah, I mean, you get people like freaking boarding up the
Yeah, like
slides and
caution tape
stuff
on
to
the
try to keep kids off the slides.
outside.
But yeah. But something I did want to add was I want to say maybe around 4, maybe 5 or 6 months. You were out, you weren't in the house, and I was having a hard time getting her to go to sleep. And I was just like, you know what? Screw it. Like, I'm gonna let her sleep on her
Mm.
stomach. Like, I'm just gonna watch her the whole time, let her sleep on it. She slept like the metaphorical slept like a baby for like probably like I don't know. It was like usually her naps are what,
Yeah,
45 minutes, an
never
hour,
longer than
something
an
like that.
hour.
She slept for almost 2 hours, like to the point where I was like, oh my God, did I actually do something? But the whole time I was sitting in the
Yeah,
room with her, like I was watching TV. She was on the bed in her little co-sleeper, and she was sleeping completely fine, like happy as can
yeah.
be.
And they say
And
don't let the baby sleep on their belly until
yeah,
they can roll over.
so I told you that, and she wasn't. I don't think she can necessarily roll over yet, or not like consistently. And I told you, so we actually started to let her sleep on her stomach in the
Hmm.
bassinet. And, we're right next to her. Like, we would wake up at random times, the two of us, to either go to the bathroom or just to check on her to make sure, because we were still like, I really hope
Hope she
nothing
doesn't drop
happened while
dead like normal healthy
but
babies do.
ultimately, and that's how she started
Ugh.
sleeping when we moved her into the next room and she was in the crib by herself. She slept on her stomach. I mean, even now she's 5 years old. She still
Yeah,
sleeps on her stomach
yeah.
sometimes,
Oh
right?
my
So
gosh, that's a good point.
it
Thank you.
just goes to show that it's kind of
Yeah,
ridiculous. I mean, and for our son, like
day one.
he never not
Yeah,
slept on
until
his
he
stomach.
chose to, like on his own, he'll sleep on his back, but we
Hmm.
never made him
And
sleep
he
on
still
his
does.
back. But yeah, okay, so that was a difficult time. So we ended up deciding to move back to our hometown, like our not our hometown, but like our home state, because we wanted to work on our relationship because it was really strained,
Hmm.
and we really needed like help. We needed just like time away. Like we needed time to like rebuild our life essentially. So we did decide to leave
Yeah, the
Texas
community.
and moved back to Connecticut, and that was a godsend. Like for me especially because at this point I had developed like almost an inability to like just do life. Like I had developed so much body aches, like pain in my wrist. I couldn't sleep. I was like having a really hard time sleeping, but also I was like really tired, like to the point where you would think it would be easy for me to sleep. Like in the middle of the day, 1 o'clock, I would have to like we would bring the bed out in the living room essentially so I could like participate in the family life. Like we would like bring the bed in the living room and I would like lay on that bed and you would be like doing stuff, but I was just like so exhausted. And I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know exactly what, and the doctors like didn't couldn't figure it out. Like they thought I had arthritis and it wasn't true. Like I didn't have arthritis and they thought it was something autoimmune, but they didn't know what. Like none of the tests were coming out. So we come back home and the grandparents started taking our daughter like every weekend. Like they would like tag team.
Hmm.
So your parents would take her one day and she would sleep over, and then my mom would take her the next day. And sometimes she would sleep over, sometimes not, but like they would have her the whole weekend. And that helped us to really rebuild our life and definitely our relationship because we were able to like go on dates and just like rest, recover. And I was able to like get massages and go to doctor's appointments and hang out with like the friends that I hadn't seen, or my family was all nearby. And that that showed me like what it showed me that although she was a difficult baby, what made it worse was the isolation for us. Like that was
Right.
so important to be back in a community that could actually help out. And it really was true that like more than anything else, like of course she got to be with her family, but like it really benefits the mother to have help, to have somebody who can like just be there for whatever you need. Like for me it was taking my child, for someone else it might be totally different. It might just like be
Yeah.
cooking meals or cleaning the house, but like just having somebody there to take the load off so you don't have to do it yourself. That's the lesson I learned in all of this.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was good to be back around family because one, they were happy to be around her and she was happy to be
Yeah.
around them. And then, like you said, we were just able to like really repair our relationship, go out on dates, hang out, and watch movies, watch TV. We even like started playing like video games
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I was like,
Um,
"Wait, I like
and
you." Like I forgot how much like I
yeah.
liked you, how much I loved you, like totally forgot in the fog of just being totally exhausted and destroyed
Yeah.
by
Well, we were
parenthood.
in the trenches there for a
Yeah.
while, taking care of our daughter and doing all the other stuff. And yeah, so really like you were stressed out focusing on her. I was stressed out focusing on
Yeah.
everything else, and like there was no like coming
No.
together in the middle at all. So yeah, so going back home was ultimately good for everyone for the time that we
Yeah.
were
And,
there.
I started going to therapy. I was still going to doctors who really didn't help. But what I found through therapy was like a lot of childhood things came into play in my parenting with her. Like a lot of things came up. So I had like an abandonment issue that I just stored with me from childhood, and I realized like in having to be alone with her, like taking care of her, like when you were going to work every day and there's no family, it triggered a part of like a childhood trauma that I didn't even know about. And so once I started to like work through some of those things, a lot of my symptoms went away. And of course, I was doing like dietary changes, all of the other stuff.
Right.
I was getting like monthly massages, but I really did like heal completely by having the breaks and all of those other like environmental factors on top of the therapy. But something else that I also remembered, because you said we used like we were playing games and stuff together, was that I realized for the first time after her, she was like 2 years old at this point, that the whole time that I was going through this difficult time, you were going through this difficult time. And I know that sounds crazy, but it wasn't until then that I had the ability to understand, like, you also had a trauma. Like, you also had this screaming baby all the time. Like, you were going through this with me. But when I was going through it, it felt like I was alone. And it was because I was operating from that triggered place of an abandoned child. Like, I just told myself that I was alone in it. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, you were always with her, so you kind of felt alone, and I was going to work, and I mean, even when we went back home, I really didn't find like good work anywhere close to where we were. So my first job was about 45
Mm-hmm.
minutes away, and the hours were pretty good, so it wasn't awful, but I was on
Yeah.
call, so there would be times that I was leaving. And then the second job, it was a better opportunity, but it had me out the house probably another like 10 to 15 hours
Yeah.
a week, because it was further and the hours were longer. And so, I mean, there was like kind of a lot of detachment I had there between you and our daughter, especially with our daughter, because there was like sometimes where like she was like, I would come home and she's like, yeah, okay, you're here again.
Right.
Like,
We were so
we didn't have
her
the
and I
same
had like
connection.
this severe like trauma bond. Like, I wasn't
Yeah, like
yeah.
disassociated.
She was so attached to me, and rightfully so. I'm her mother, but it was kind of like in some ways an unhealthy attachment, you know, because
Yeah. I mean, pretty much we didn't start to like connect until I like, went out of my way to like read her bedtime
yeah.
story every day and get her to
Right.
go
We
to
started
sleep.
to create some separation. So we were like, you're going to do bedtime every night, because that would be your time to connect and bond with her, since you were gone so much and stuff.
Mhm.
So we just started to like figure out how to create a real family, because we really didn't have a good like family structure. And I will say at this point, I didn't want more kids. Like, I was like, I will never have a child again. This was so hard. I just didn't want any kids. But what I will say is that for some reason, I don't know if it was because I got a new job or something, but I started listening to podcasts again, because I hadn't been listening to them. And I think, oh, that's what it was. So yeah, I started listening to podcasts again. And it was because I was focused on healing. So I started listening to podcasts about childhood trauma and internal family systems, like the stuff that I was doing in therapy. And a recommendation came up for Free Birth Society, like the birth podcast. And I think I had like listened to everything else one day, and I still had like a drive, because I was driving kind of far to work too. So I still had to drive, and I started listening to Free Birth Society, an episode, and I want to say the woman lost her baby, like one of her babies, and then went on to have like a free birth, the free birth that she wanted. And I remember, like, I was so intrigued. I was so intrigued because they talked about some of the things that happened to me, like the experience of their miscarriage. And I was like, yeah, that happened to me. And the woman on the show was like, the host of the show was giving context. And she was like talking about, yeah, it's because the medical system, da 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 da. And midwives, people think midwives are, better, but this happens with midwives. I was like, oh my God, like, yes, like that's how I feel. Like, the whole time I was thinking like midwives were better, and we even like still liked our midwife after, but realistically they were the ones that kind of sent us off the path, because they told us that I was going to be in labor for several days, and that wasn't true. And so like just being validated by someone who has a lot more um skin in the game, I guess, for like the birth world, I just started like listening to every episode. And again, I didn't want to have more kids at the time, but it was more so like healing to me for the birth trauma that I had. Like hearing other people's stories and like hearing her say, that wasn't supposed to happen to you. They sabotaged your birth. They did this. It was able, like, it allowed me to kind of like unburden myself. Like, cause I was like, yeah, I failed. Like, I got an epidural. Like, that was my focus. I was like, I ended up in the hospital with an epidural. Like, I wasn't strong enough, you know? It was a guilt. And then when they said, well, you kind of had no choice because blah, 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 I was like, oh, that feels so good. Like, it felt so good to release that. And I think it helped with my overall healing too.
I remember you listening to that stuff and you're like watching like that midwife show
Yeah,
on
call the
Netflix and
midwife.
like you like yeah, you like dove completely into like
Yeah,
birth again. And it was, I mean, I didn't know that you had necessarily been thinking about having a second kid
I
yet,
wasn't.
but
I
we were
wasn't.
toying
It
with
was
the
just
idea.
healing from the first.
Right. Right, for sure. And then, but then I guess like what also lined up is at this time, like our daughter's becoming a little more autonomous, right? She's like she's playing, she's starting to like get potty trained, right? Like, so it's like she's moving beyond that infant, that toddler stage, and like she's about close to 3 or 4 years old now, and she is a little more independent. We have a good routine. She's going to daycare. She's going with the grandparents on the weekends, maybe even during the week. She might do something with her cousins and other family members. So like we had a little like system going on
Hmm.
here. But but in a way we were still somewhat like isolated to a degree because we were only 15, 20 minutes away from the bulk of our
Hmm.
family, but outside of the grandparents and a few friends and family members, we really didn't connect with as many people as we thought we were going
Yeah.
to. So it forced us to actually create and like, you know, want to create a family environment with just the three of us. So it kind of forced all of us and, you know, helped all of us get a little bit closer
Yeah.
and connected. And you started to come out of like your some of your like you said, you were going to therapy, so some of the trauma, but also just some of your health
Yeah.
issues as
I was
well, right?
feeling
Because
good again. Like, I finally got it
at that time
down.
you stopped eating
Yes.
gluten, right? It was recommended one of my friend's wives. She's been gluten free as long as I've
Yeah.
known her, and she recommended it to Destiny. She was like, "Hey, everything that you're feeling, like that's how I felt when I was eating gluten and I didn't know I was allergic yet. So like,
Yeah.
try it out, and
It
like
was like
you cut a little bit
major.
out, and then you end up cutting all of it out." And yeah, it made a big deal for you. So like we were taking a lot of like steps
Yeah.
forward as a family and even as
Yeah.
individuals, right? Like I said, our daughter's getting potty trained. I was able to go out and run because there's a trail next to the house. So like I'm trying to get my health back. Um, you're getting your mental, physical health back. So we were in a pretty
Yeah.
good place as we were approaching.
Yes. And there was a, like, you bring up a good point because there were a lot of moving parts. And I was like trying to think about, okay, how do I fit this all in? But because I was going through this health journey, I kept having these encounters with the typical medical system, and they weren't helpful. Like, they just kept giving me like prescriptions and stuff, and I was noticing at the same time I wasn't taking them. I was noticing at the same time, like, in doing all of my own research, like I'm talking about scholarly articles, like I'm reading through like fat chain, what is it, acid, I can't even think of it. Like, I'm looking at the molecular cell biology of what's going on, right? And like trying to find out
Mhm.
at its core like what is physiologically wrong with me. And I got many of the answers just by like doing deep dives in like different podcasts about health and all this stuff. And I stumbled in because like Shane got fired from his job because he didn't get the COVID shot. And then like a year later, um there's all this research starting to come out about like the side effects of the shots. Like, people are having heart attacks now. Your friend had a heart attack, right? Like, and we
Mhm.
suspected. So like all of these like health things were coming to the light, at least in our world, where I started to like question the typical medical model. And again, it's because of personal experiences. Now, at the same time, our daughter is in a daycare, and every year on her birthday, she had to go to the pediatrician. Like, it's a wellness visit. And for her to go to stay in daycare, she needed to get a flu shot. Now, at this point, she had slowed down with needing to get the other shots. Like, it was that time where like you don't really need to get anything until you go to kindergarten, but the flu shot was a
Mhm.
requirement to go to school. And the first year, I didn't notice, like, I didn't link it, but she had like a terrible reaction 24 hours after the flu shot, like GI stuff. And then the next year, same thing, like the same thing happened where she had 24 hours after she had like this terrible reaction. And I put it together. I said, the only difference, I mean, the only thing that occurred was her getting this flu shot. And so I said, she's not going to get it again. Right. So that happened at the same time. And like you said, you're getting it, you're like honing in on your health. And so we started to kind of get disaffected, is what I'm trying to say. Like we started to get disaffected from the typical medical model of things. And that's important
Yeah.
for like where we're going with this birth, on top of like free
And
birth
I would say really
society
more
still
so,
going on at the same time.
r- really more so you were
Yeah.
disaffected because I like, not to make any political statements or anything, but like when COVID happened, I went like completely
Yeah.
anti-establishment, like for more reasons than one. Like I was like, this is
Yeah.
crazy. And then to the point where I lost my job because I didn't get
Right.
the jab, to where my friend lost his life for what I believe was
Right.
the vaccine. So
My brother's
I was
girlfriend
pretty
also
like,
had a heart attack. Yeah. Oh, and they're in their
right,
30s. These
exactly.
are 30-year-olds.
Right. All these people, yes, all these people are like healthy
Yeah.
30-year-old individuals. And yeah, and then like coming to see 2 years in a row, our daughter getting the flu shot and having a like, like immune response where she's just, there's like redness site injection, there's a lethargy, there was projectile vomiting
Mhm.
both times in which she pretty much
She
almost like
nearly
choked.
like, yeah,
Like,
she
yeah,
couldn't breathe and we had to like pull stuff out
like
of her throat to like clear her
yes.
airway.
Food
Yeah.
particles, yes. So now, like now that there's this, so I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
done. Like I'm completely done. And like as you're listening to more free birth stuff, and you're going through going through this the medical model where like they're like, hey, take
And they
this,
didn't
do this.
work.
All this will make you feel
Nothing
better.
worked.
When it was all just like your diet and like a little rest and
Right.
relaxation is all you
Right.
needed. So we're like at this point, we're like, this whole thing is
Yeah.
messed up. Like, and this isn't against, like, because we both know and have people who work in the medical
Yeah.
industry who are like well-meaning people and good at what they do, but like there's a certain way that the medical system, the healthcare system, health insurance system goes about doing things, and it's just all wrong for patients, for families, for
Individuals.
mothers, for children.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
families.
Like if
But
you,
go ahead.
again, if we didn't have personal experiences, maybe I would debate, but at the same time, I'm like, we had to do
Hmm.
what was best for us. And what we saw, these things weren't working for our family. It just was not lining up. And so at this point, because she was having these adverse reactions, I started to look into all of them. So I started to read every FDA insert. Like, you already know how I can become like hyper focused on things. So like I'm reading every single insert. I'm checking out every single study for every single jab on the childhood schedule, like for her going forward. Cause I'm like, okay, we want her to go to school. Like we lived in a great place for her to go to school. Like I worked full time, you
Hmm.
worked full time. So like she's gonna have to get X, Y, and Z to get into kindergarten. And I was like, cannot, in good faith, after seeing what happened to her and then reading these inserts, the ingredients in some of the studies and the lack of safety studies for infants, I was like, I can't, in good faith, continue to give this to our baby. And the thing about Connecticut, why this is so important, is because Connecticut has completely gotten rid of religious exemption. So, like, yes, this wasn't necessarily a religious reason for us at the time, but it was enough. I had enough information to say personally did not want her to have any more. And because they have gotten rid of the essentially personal choice of choosing to vaccinate or not, we had no choice. We would have to get a doctor to say that she was exempt. And number one, no doctor would at the time, but they also would only exempt her for the flu shot, not for the other ones. It would only be for what they deemed to be like the one she didn't need. And so that started us on the complete alternative path. And at the same time, we were
Right,
like,
especially.
maybe we do want another kid. But like if we do, we can't live in Connecticut. Like this is where we start shifting. So we're like, we don't like the medical essentially tyranny of Connecticut.
Hmm.
they already like kicked you out of your job because that was in Connecticut. Like we already experienced all of these like medical difficulties, we'll say. And so we
Right.
were starting to shift. And at the same time, we're like, well, maybe we do want another kid because she was getting older, more independent. Yeah.
Yeah. And there were other kids in the our complex that we lived in who had siblings, and she always wanted to like play with us, and not that we didn't play with her, and still, like, we still do, but we were like, hey, we want somebody her age to be able to play with, right? Like a peer, a
Mm-hmm.
sibling. So we wanted that. And then like going to what you said about like Connecticut, like they like at first we were able to get an exemption, and then very quickly like a bill passed through like Connecticut
Yeah.
House and
While we
stuff
were
like so,
there.
so like so it's funny because like maybe we were a little bit of this way before, but like now we're like going through like it's like scientific studies and reading like legalese and stuff like that. Like
I
we're doing
once
all our
read
own
like
research, having to be our
200
own.
pages or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and we're having to be our own lawyer and our own like medical researchers. But I guess I can't even say at the last straw because at this point I was like done. But like the thing that like set me over the edge was I took my daughter. I think you had to work. I took my daughter to the doctor and for a checkup, and I the doctor was like, hey, it's time to get the flu shot, and I was like, no, we're not doing the flu shot because X, Y, and Z happened the last two times. And the doctor's like, oh, well, you really should still do it. And I'm like, no, like we have an exemption. Like you gave us an exemption the last time, and like we're gonna stick with this forward. Like I wasn't budging. Like somebody was gonna go out of that room kicking and screaming, and it wasn't gonna be my
Yeah.
daughter. So so I was like, no, we're not gonna do that. And she's like, okay, we could skip it, but next time. And she like pointed at me like I was like, now mind you, this pediatrician is my
Yeah.
age, like, and she's like, she pointed at me like she's like my grandmother or something. She was like, but next time we're gonna get that shot. And I'm like, I don't know who we is. It might be
Yeah.
you, but it's not gonna be us. So at that point I was like, we're not done, like we're done, we're not coming back here. I don't care. Like like now they're gonna fire my daughter
Yeah.
from school after they already fired me from work, right? Because of whatever
Well, she
medical
literally
reasons.
couldn't go.
So I'm like,
Like so
right.
and
So I
like this
mean,
pediatrician, we picked her because we liked her. And I still like her
mhm,
as a pediatrician. She's a
mhm,
cool person. I think they just like have to follow these rules. I don't even think she really wants to. I think she just kind of has to. Like they made us sign this document in the middle of her being a patient there saying that we believe in vaccines. Like they just immediately like they said that.
yep.
So anyway, so that's that. Okay. And we did like Shane said, we did get the exemption, the medical exemption for the flu shot, but they wouldn't do it for any others.
All right. So pretty much we were good with where she was as far as the flu until the end of that
Yeah.
school year. So like let's say that was in January, she pretty much had until the
Yeah.
fall until she would have to get
She
a, a
yeah, and
flu
she would
shot.
need to get like all the others that are required for entering the kindergarten. So at the same
Hmm.
time, we are deciding to get pregnant. Like we knew we were gonna um conceive because yeah, that was like I think that appointment was right after um we conceived or yeah, right after because we conceived in November and her birthday is December. Yeah. So
Right.
anyway, around the same time we decided like we wanted to get pregnant again, and almost from the beginning I knew it wasn't going to be like we weren't going to birth in a hospital. I was pretty convinced, again based off of my own research. I had learned so much about like the tests in pregnancy, how they're not necessary. They're definitely not required, put it that way. You can get them if you want. I think medical autonomy is important. So if you're someone who really believes in the medical system and wants to know these things, that go and do it. Like just do it because you want to. But I looked into it and said, well, I don't really, if the baby has a genetic disposition to whatever, like I don't really want to know because I'm still going to keep that baby no matter what. Whatever, if the baby has a genetic syndrome where they're going to die at 23 weeks or whatever and then I have a stillbirth, I was willing to do that. It wasn't going to change my outcome. And the same thing if they were going to be born with a disability or whatever, that's still going to be my baby. There was nothing that would change my decision by knowing it ahead of time. So that's what I was like I'm not going to do any of that stuff. Similar to ultrasounds, I was learning more about ultrasounds, and I wasn't convinced that they were necessarily safe. I think I was willing to get like one to make sure that the baby was like in the right spot, but I didn't want to do any more. I was like, that was it. So I think that's what we ended up doing. And
I don't even think
we
we
got
got an
one
ultrasound. I
ultrasound.
remember going to,
One.
okay, because I was gonna say I remember we went to the doctor's office and we went in there and I was like, I can't even remember what we went in there for, to be honest with you. We went in there and it was like two back-to-back appointments and we went to the first one and then we were waiting for the second nurse or whatever was supposed to happen. You were like, this is unnecessary. We don't need to be here. And I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, well, let's leave because I don't
Okay,
want to
okay,
be
let's
here.
back up. So yeah, we conceived in November. We knew exactly when we conceived. It was on our anniversary. It was like totally planned. And I will say, like, trying for a baby is so much fun because, like, you actually want it. We never really got to, like, try intentionally for a baby. And with that being said, we didn't
Mhm.
really have to try very hard because we conceived, like, the first time. It was, like, same day. Like, we knew exactly what we were doing. I think that speaks to, like, being, like, really healthy people. But anyway, so we conceived November and then we went for that appointment December something, right? It was like December
Mhm.
29th or something. It was like right before the new year. We
Yep.
did that intentionally because we were going to lose insurance for a while because you were switching jobs, because we also
Yes.
had switched jobs to make our lives better. So I switched to like a part-time job. I think it was like 3 to 4 days a week, and then you switched to a job that was closer to our house. So that was another thing we did to like make our lives as a family better and easier, and it definitely did. Um After that, so I went to the doctor because I knew for a fact that I wasn't going to stay with the doctor, but I wanted like that reassurance, I guess, that the baby wasn't like an ectopic pregnancy or something like that, because I knew we weren't going to have insurance. So if there was like something like an ectopic pregnancy is dangerous to me. Like it's not just about a miscarriage.
Mhm.
Like if the tube ruptured or something, like that's actually dangerous to me. So I wanted to make sure that wasn't an issue, and that's why we got an ultrasound. I was considering like a midwife down the line, but in Connecticut the midwives aren't licensed. There's no way to like know how they got their training or like anything like that. And I didn't know them. Like I would have to go and find like a random stranger, build a relationship with them over the course of time, and then expect them to like essentially let me have a free birth, like not do anything, or like a wild pregnancy, really. Not do any tests, not do any ultrasounds, and then like watch me have a baby. So I was like, the chances of that happening is slim, but I was like, maybe. That's kind of where we were. So like at that appointment, we're like, let's go make sure the baby's like in the right spot and then bounce. And then from there, maybe we'll find a midwife, whatever. And we go to that appointment, and
Right.
like you said, we get the ultrasound, then they switch us to another spot. The lady tries to give me medication for nausea that I didn't ask for, because I tend to have a lot of nausea in my pregnancies, and I know that from my daughter. So when I started getting nauseous with our son, I already knew like this is just a part of my pregnancy, and the doctor like saw that and was like, "We can give you this, we can give you this," and I was like, "I don't want anything." And then she's like, "Well, here's another one. There's a chance of the baby developing cleft palate, but it's super small. So if you want this one, you can take it." I'm like, "I don't want anything." And also, why would I risk my baby having cleft palate because I'm throwing up a little bit? Like,
Over
it's just
nausea. Yeah.
ridiculous. So yeah, I was like, I'm done with this. Like that just ticked me off, and I like didn't want to be there anymore. So we just left the appointment in the middle of it.
Right. So then from there we like moved on, like you said, looking at the midwives
For
and
like 2 weeks,
as you
honestly. It
like
was like so
yeah, I was
small.
gonna say as you continued to like get into like more into like the free birth side of things, we ultimately came to the conclusion is like why are we gonna pay somebody to pretty much do nothing, like to just like be near
I'll
and be
never
close.
forget this. I was at work and I like just decided, I was like, I want a free birth. Like, I don't even know why I'm even looking at this stuff. So I text you. I'm like, wait, I think I just decided that I want a free birth. You're like, I thought we already knew
Yeah.
that. And I was like, cool. We're doing it. Like we were on one accord right there. And so like shout out to you as a dad, because there are many men who like really essentially force their women to go into like a setting that they don't want because they're afraid to like have them give birth at home or like with a midwife or whatever. And you were like totally on board for the complete opposite of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, at that point, I was like, I was very fed up with the healthcare system, right? Like, I literally just had somebody w wave their finger in my face,
Yeah.
so I'm like I'm all set. And really, I didn't like. I wanted you to be in a situation that you felt comfortable in because we, with the birth of our daughter, we were in both like situations in one
Yeah.
night, right? We were first in the comfortable setting with the bed at the birth center, and then things like seemed nice. Then we were also at the hospital where things were like completely out of our hands. It was very sterile. There was a lot of people. It wasn't calming or
Yeah.
anything like that. And I really wanted you to be in a setting where you felt comfortable. And I guess what would be more comfortable than at our own
Right.
home.
Exactly. So thank
So
you. So, okay. So now we're on one accord. Like we're ready. We're ready for this free birth. And we knew right away. So from 9 weeks on, it was just like what they call a wild pregnancy. So I didn't have any formal prenatal care. I just like kind of lived my life. And yeah, like we just prepared for the free birth. There was nothing came up. I was just healthy. And at the end
mhm,
of the pregnancy, we started to like talk about kind of maybe we went over some what ifs. We listened to like some information about yeah, I took like the free birth course and so a couple of the emergency things you and I like listened to together just so that you could have an idea of like what to look for. But we just had like total faith and that was a big part of it too, like just trusting that God was going to protect us and like just be there with us throughout the birth. Like I had no fear. I believed wholeheartedly that it was going to be fine. So we did like some preparation, got some tools. I put together like a little
mhm.
bin of some tinctures and um, a fetoscope, to listen to the heartbeat, some washcloths, like random things. It wasn't a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah,
We got some
pads.
pads. I got like all my prenatal, or sorry, I got all of my postpartum stuff that I knew that I needed with my daughter, but it really wasn't a lot. It was just like, enough. And we really just used, there was nothing that we needed more. I would say like we used exactly what we got. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So then when I was 37 weeks, yeah, when I was 37 weeks, I guess like before that, I was having a little bit of like contractions here and there, but I pretty much told myself that I would only take them seriously if I was like bleeding or had like my water break, something to show me that my cervix was doing something. So at 37 weeks and 4 days, like at the night, I guess it was just 37 weeks and 5 days because it was a quick labor and birth. I was asleep. You were asleep next to me. And I guess I had a contraction and it woke you up. It didn't wake me up.
Yeah.
And then you touched me. You're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "What?" Like, "Yes." And you're like, "I think you're having a contraction or something." I don't know. What'd you say?
Yeah, well, I woke up to like you like you like I was like I wake up and I touch you. I'm like, hey, is everything all right? And you're like, yeah. What do you mean? Like I'm sleeping. I was like, well, you're like screaming in your sleep. So are you like having contractions? Like what's going on here? And you come to find
Yeah,
out
I
you were.
was. And I didn't know. And then yeah, I just like stayed asleep like asleep. So I told myself to ignore it until I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I did that for several hours. Like they were coming on and off. I didn't like jump up to time them. And this is because w- what you do what you're doing when labor starts, you should continue to do because your body was in a state that was comfortable enough to go into labor. So you just want to maintain that at all costs. Maintain whatever it was doing because it's like a feedback loop. So the hormone will continue to like increase and intensify the contractions and like progress the birth the longer that you stay in that setting, right? So that's what I did for several hours. And then after a while, I was like, okay, yeah, this is labor. So I get up, go to the bathroom. Sure enough, I'm bleeding. And I was like, yep. we're in, I'm in labor. I got back in the bed because it was like probably 5 o'clock, but I texted my mom and I said, can you come get our daughter, take her to school? Because I'm in labor. And she's like, sure. So then she comes within the hour. You had gotten up to get our daughter dressed to go to school. And I just laid in
Yep,
bed.
give her
My
breakfast and
mom
everything.
comes, yeah, get her ready. My mom comes in, checks on me. I said, I'm doing fine. She asked me how far apart. I was like, I don't know. I'm not timing them, but they're consistent. And she leaves with the baby. And then at that point, I was like, I need to get up. I need, like, can you run me a bath? So you ran a bath,
Mhm.
and I get up. We get like the birth prayers and affirmations that my friends did because I had a mother blessing ceremony a couple of weeks before where I had my friends like color some different, things that I wanted to put up in the birth to encourage me. So I put that up in the bathroom because I thought that's where I would be. And I ended up being in there quite a bit. So it worked out. Like it was very
Mhm.
encouraging to see those messages and like to just know that my friends had like loved me and prayed over me and like did that for me. So I had those up. Um I also had them tie some prayer bracelets on, so that was also encouraging. Like they were on my wrist and like just knowing that they were there with me, like praying for me and like believing that I could do this. So those two things were definitely utilized for um encouragement because I saw them. Like I would look down and be on my wrist again. I saw the papers up, so that was definitely helpful. And in the beginning, it really wasn't that bad. Like, right? It was super chill, actually.
No,
Like,
yeah,
I would have an intense contraction and then I would have like a nice long break in between. And that was like that for hours. Like, they were really intense when they were happening, don't get me wrong, but I was still able to like eat and laugh. I was listening to like a comedian and I was talking to you, and then I would have them for hours, like till probably what 10 a.m. So it started at like,
yeah.
I don't know, my mom picked her up at close to 7 and it started in the
Mhm.
middle of the night. So then by like 10 o'clock
Right.
is when I feel like I was getting tired in the bath. So I wanted to get out and I
Mhm.
wanted to like take a nap.
Yes, and so you did. And pretty much the whole time that this is happening, after I had gotten our daughter ready and got her out the house, I was kind of documenting everything that was going on. So she was having like 1 to 2 minute contractions about every
Yeah.
10-ish minutes. And so you were doing pretty well. And, I was just documenting like pretty much even all the stuff you were doing, like got in the bath, got out of the
Hmm.
bath, like make like, trying to track and make sure you're having like snacks and eating still. Definitely like the water. I had my watch on the whole time, so like pretty much like every like 15 minutes I'm like, hey,
Hmm.
drink something, because that was one of the things that we were worried about when you were in labor with our daughter. You were worried that you were
Yes.
dehydrated because you were throwing up and having diarrhea. So I was like, all right, so this time, to make sure that doesn't happen, so we don't have an emergency style situation like we did last time, let's make sure you're eating, let's make sure you're drinking. So she's having uh like little
Yeah.
bars, and
Applesauce.
I keep, yeah, applesauce. I keep filling up your
Hmm.
water and make sure you're drinking and everything. So yes, then we get to the point where you were done with the
Yeah, and
bath,
I get to take a
and
nap, and I didn't want to
you
eat
get in.
anymore.
Yep, you go
That
to
is
take a nap.
that part. I didn't want to eat anymore. So that's how you know it had
Right.
intensified because I just wanted to like lay down and like rest. And I did fall asleep for however long. I was still having contractions, but like I was tired enough to like go to sleep. And I remember waking up to this super powerful like so strong, and at the top, like, because contractions are like a peak, so like, or like a mountain, so they like go up and they go down. So like at the peak my water broke and it was so scary.
Yeah.
And I screamed, I was like, shit, my water broke.
Yes. So let's flip to my point of view. So she just went to sleep to take a nap. I'm thinking she's gonna be asleep probably at least for like an hour or something like that. So like I end up drinking like like a little like a pre-workout drink because I was gonna work out in the house. Like honestly was gonna run around the complex to do like go for a run, but I would have had to bring my phone with me, and then like if I was on the other end, I'd have to like sprint
Yeah.
across the complex like a crazy person to get back. So I was like, let me just like do a workout in the house. So I'm probably like 15 minutes into a workout, and she screams out my name, Shane, and like I'm like at this point like the pre-workouts like kicked in, so I'm like locked in, like ready to go, right? Like, and I run in, and she's like, my water just broke. So I'm like, okay, like what do you want to do? And she's like, I want to get back in the
No, no, no.
tub.
I was like,
So,
okay, first,
so
I want to check to make sure the liquid is clear, like to see if there's
oh
any
yes, that's
blood
correct.
or like meconium, because that was an issue with our daughter
Hmm.
apparently. And it was clear. There was nothing, like I was wearing a diaper
Hmm.
at this point, and it just, the diaper was amazing. It like absorbed everything. Like it didn't.
Yeah.
So check that out. It was fine. And then I wanted to get into the tub. You're right. So I tried because as soon
Right.
as I had the next contraction, it was so intense. Like the water was a cushion. And when it was
Hmm.
gone, it was like full blown skull on my cervix. Like it was rough.
Hmm.
And that's when I started throwing up because I had a bucket next to me. So I like get off the bed, start throwing up. Like they really picked up here. Like that's when I was like, okay, this
Yeah,
is
for
rough.
sure.
And I remember I started crying and I was like, I couldn't, I was so uncomfortable because like it was, my back was hurting, but then I also had like front pressure, like pubic pain. I don't even know what it was, but it was just like something in the front. And I just couldn't figure out
Hmm.
like how to like position myself. So like you were holding me in this odd position throughout the contractions. And I was like, if I just get into the water, I know it'll ease it a little bit. Like warm water will help.
Hmm.
So you're like, you can do this. It's not that far. The bathroom's not that far. And I was like, okay. So we like get up and like in the middle of a contraction because they were close together now. They were no longer 10 minutes
Hmm.
apart.
Much
And so I was like,
closer.
I only
Yeah, it was like
have
five
a
minutes.
short amount of time to like get up and get into this tub. So you go run and get the water in there, and I like scurried to the tub, get back in, and
Hmm.
although it helped a little bit, it didn't help that much. It really didn't. And it was
Yeah.
just like this was active labor. Like truthfully, that's what it was. And
Hmm.
at that point, I was like really in the zone. Like I couldn't talk to you anymore. I maybe I would call out to you and
Right.
say something. I don't know what I was saying. It was like that
No, most I
I
mean
started
most
to
of the
leave the
time,
earth at this point where I'm just like
yeah. Most of the time you were like you were praying and singing your worship like songs and just kind of like,
I was
talking
talking
to
to God. I
God
was
and
like
like hyping yourself up and like the whole time I'm like getting you water and still like documenting contractions and oh this is the time her water broke, this is the time we got in the bath, like how long we just trying to keep track of
yeah,
everything to see how long we were actually doing stuff to like to keep things progressing if anything, or to notice if there was like some type of like stalling in the
yeah.
labor. So I'm pretty much just pacing around the bathroom waiting for you to call me. I'd like come in and you're like, rub my back, and then I'll rub your back, and then you're like, get the heck away from me, and then I'd
I think
leave
at one
again.
point I was like, stop
So
looking
that,
at me.
yeah, I'm like, I'm not even in the room, like, all right, but so we're going through most of that, and then you decide you want to get out of
Yeah.
the tub again.
Yes.
You were all done being in the water, so we got you out of the tub and got you back onto
I
the
took
bed in
off
between
all, I had
contractions.
clothes on because I was like, I'm not taking I had
Yeah.
like a belly wrap to like better position the baby. And I don't know, something
Hmm.
in my intuition just told me to, because I was wearing this wrap my whole pregnancy essentially, because I have like a pendulous belly, which basically means like the belly hangs very far over your pelvis. And that means the baby is hanging over. So I had it in my intuition to put the wrap back on. And I do think that helps, like just to position the baby
Hmm.
over my cervix better. So I had that on. I took all of it off because it was like soaking wet, and took it all
Hmm.
off and just like leaped onto the bed because I was so tired.
Hmm.
And also, I was just trying to do it in between the contractions, which were like, I only had a minute in between, if that. Like, it was just such a short
Right.
amount of time. So I'm laying on the bed, and yeah, at this point, my soul is hovering above my body because I'm not there anymore. And I don't even fully,
Yeah.
it was like I was seeing myself down on the bed because I do remember it, but not in the way that people remember things.
Mhm. Yeah, well, no, I
You
was
brought,
there
I think
for
I
it.
you brought me something to drink and I spilled it, I think, or something.
Mhm. Yes, you spilled it. Yeah, you like took a couple sips and then spilled it all over yourself, which maybe must have felt good because it was cold water. I
No,
don't know.
I remember
So
I was
then
like,
I ran.
it was cold and my body was naked on the bed.
Uh,
Then I threw
and
up.
yeah, so then I
And
ran. Yes, you threw up. I ran to get you some more water so you could like kind of like rinse your mouth out and actually get something to
yeah.
drink, which you did. And then you were there on your back for a little bit, and you weren't necessarily trying to push, but you were sort of like I don't know, I don't want to say writhing in pain, but let's say like writhing in
Yes. Oh,
discomfort,
I reached
like
in to check
in
and there was something was there. Like
right, right. You feel like I could feel it, and I'm like, all right, cool. And you're there on your back for a little bit, and you're kind of like you kind of got to the point where like not necessarily I don't know if I could do this, but like, you're like I don't know why like like you felt like you were
yeah.
stuck, like you felt like the labor was stalling. So I was like, hey, like you're on your back. We know that this is what happens in the hospital, and it's hard for ladies to
Mm.
push. Like I was like, I really think you should get off your back. And you're like, I don't know if I should. I'm like. I really think things will progress if you just get off let's get up. So you get up and you get down to like a kneeled
Oh
squat
man.
on the
As
floor.
soon as I hit
Well, I mean, getting you up was a chore because I pretty much had to pick you up because at this point
I was
she was
gone.
like
I told you
jello,
I was
like
gone.
yeah.
I was in another
And
world.
so I like truly like the retirement home, get her like swing her feet over to the edge of the bed, like scoop her up underneath her arms, like squat her up, get up, and then we both slowly
yeah.
squat down to the floor to where you're on your knees, and now I'm
And
behind
as
you.
soon as I got on all
Yeah,
fours, my body just started pushing for me. Like just
immediately.
these deep pushes. Like it's so hard to explain. I mean, it's truly a God thing because I was not pushing that hard. I just felt like a train was like going through me, just pushing my baby out. And as that happened, I was getting more of a break in between. So I remember that I wanted to play worship music. So I like had my phone and turned it on, and we knew the baby was coming at this point. So Shane goes and gets a light, like a small light, because everything was dark. So this is the middle of the day, but I made it a rule to keep it dark and quiet. So we had all of the curtains were pulled. It was very dark in the whole house, and so Shane goes to get a light because he's like, I can't see what's happening. Like I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Well, you had a light on your desk, and the door to the room was
Yeah.
open, so pretty much the only light that was like coming in was ambient light that's coming through the blinds in the shades in
Yeah.
the living
Yeah.
room and like kind of bouncing around the corner
Yeah.
into the room. So I
And I was like,
grabbed
what
the
are
light off
you
of
doing?
your desk there and I turned it on and it was like I actually like laid it down so it was just like illuminating the
yeah.
floor pretty much like where you were squatting. You're like, what are you doing with that light? And I'm like, I can't see anything. Like so you
I didn't want the light.
we
I
need
was
to
like,
let the light be on.
but yeah, I get it because then now remember, y'all, we didn't have any ultrasounds. So it could have been a butt, it could
Hmm.
have been a foot, it could have been a head. We didn't know
Yeah.
what was coming out. We didn't even know if it was a baby coming. right? Like truthfully, we knew like we
Yeah.
saw that little blob when he was like 8 weeks. And after that, could be anything, right? So anyway, I'm pushing and his head starts to emerge. It was a head. And I think you
Hmm.
said, I see hair.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was it. So for me, like you're pushing and you're feeling it, and you're like, I think it's his head, and then like I'm like underneath, like looking. I also have like now I have like my little like light as well, along with the other light, and I'm like I see something, and I said I see hair, but like what I saw like hair and
yes.
wrinkles, so I have no idea what part of the body it is, like forehead wrinkles, like it looked just like this, with like hair, and I'm like I have no idea like this could be his back, this could be his butt, maybe he's like a little hairy
Yeah, because
baby like
he didn't
Esau or
have a lot of
something.
hair on his head either. So that's hilarious.
Right. So I'm like, I have no idea, but I can see it. So I'm like, I keep telling you to, push when you're ready, push when you have your
Yeah, so
contractions,
I was like,
and
yeah,
you do.
pushing, 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 and I was like really focused on not pushing too hard to like burst through my
Mm,
perineum and like tear. I didn't want any tears. And so I know that you should slowly let your baby emerge. If the baby comes goes back up and then comes down, like that's a good thing. It's giving your body a chance to stretch.
And so that's what was happening. So
Mhm.
like I would push really hard,
Right.
and then he would kind of like go back up. And I remember one time he got like
Mhm.
all the way out almost, and then he slowly started
Mhm.
going back in. And that's because like you said later that you were like, no, 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 it's the wrong direction.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
almost like, I think it was me. Like once he got to that point and I felt like the stretching, I was like, I'm not ready yet. Like I'm not ready to like go further.
Mm.
And it was kind of like an irrational fear because I had got him essentially to the point where like it was the most stretched.
Yeah, I mean, like the crowning, like his head was like about to come out, like it
Yeah.
was like a
Yeah.
cap, like
So that point where I got
and
afraid was actually the worst part. Like if I just kept going, he would have come out. But
yeah.
anyway, he came back, he went back in, pushed him out, and at that point I was like, all right, I'm done. Like I want to meet my baby. Like I felt his head and I
Mm.
was like, I'm ready to meet my baby. And so I pushed one more good time and his head came out and then he flew out.
Yeah, so like yeah, his head came through and like I had my hands just below ready to catch his head and then like soon as it got to his shoulders, he like
Yeah.
shot out, like literally shot out so fast I almost like
Yeah.
didn't
I
catch him.
caught it.
Like I pretty much caught his head and yeah, like
Yeah,
you
and
you
pulled
caught
him
his head and
through.
like I kind of like caught his butt and he kind of like flopped his feet down on
And
the
he
floor.
fell out perfectly so we can see his little junk and we knew it was a boy. It was a
Yep.
boy. We're like super excited. I picked my baby up, put him on my chest, and he was moving like right away. And I should say, like, he was moving while I was pushing him out. Like, I could feel his movement, which was like very challenging. Like, it was not comfortable. And I pick him up. We know he's alive, and he's like reaching out. And like I said, I put him on my chest, and he didn't like cry right away. He was just like frowning his face up and like making signs of life. And I think I did like a little suction on his nose, like just with my mouth, but nothing like came out or anything. And then he just like let out a cry, and that's when I lost it. Like I just started crying, and Shane is crying, and he's like wrapped around my back, and we're holding our baby. Oh, it was like it was so perfect. It was magical.
Yeah, so like like you said, he plops down, we see his little junk, like we both kind of were like, it's a boy, right?
I mean, I knew it was a boy
And
the
we pick
whole
him up.
pregnancy. I knew it was a boy, but yes, it was like it's a
You did.
boy.
You were saying that the
Yeah.
whole time. And so you pick him up, you're like embracing him, I'm embracing you, and it was just like this overwhelming like feeling of like
Yes.
warmth and like love and like like I say it before and I'll say it again. People always like, oh, when you when you're giving birth, it's like the closest you could be to like holding hands with
Yes.
God or like you're holding like creating with God, and it very much felt that way.
Yes.
We I felt like this warming love come over all of us. Like we had a little moment, we both shed a little
Yes.
tear,
A lot of tears
and
over here.
yeah,
Because also I'm just like, I did
and
it. Oh my God, I did it.
yeah, and I was like, I was super proud of you. I was happy our son was there, like safe and sound, and yeah, it was just like an overwhelming feel of like joy and
Yes.
love
And
and like accomplishment.
yes.
And like I said, I was very proud of you for being able to do
Yeah.
that.
And then
So,
I get up and there's a pile of blood on on the mat, right?
yeah,
And I
yep,
knew I knew I was okay. I knew I needed to deliver the placenta. And so I got up and you helped me, like you put a towel between my legs or something. The baby was still attached to the
hmm,
placenta obviously, and I just like let me go sit on the toilet. Like again, I was just following my instincts. So I sit on the toilet holding the baby and just kind of like looking at him. He was fine. Like he only cried just to let us know he was alive, essentially. Like he stopped crying right
pretty
away
much.
and he just laying on my chest. I'm looking at him. And then I felt,
I ran in the
yeah, I
kitchen.
had contractions still and I could feel, I was like, I need a bowl for the placenta. Yeah.
So yeah, so I ran into the kitchen and grabbed a plastic bowl, uh, like a salad
Yeah.
bowl, if you will, and ran in and gave that to her. Ironically, it just so happened to fit that
Fit.
it fit perfectly inside the
Yeah.
toilet
Yeah.
seat, so he could just sit on it
Right.
pretty much.
And I felt another big contraction. and I just did like a little push and like a tug of the cord, and it just came right out into the bowl. And that was that was a complete, like, I felt complete at that point. And this is where like it was so healing from my daughter's birth. Like that moment was what we
Mm,
didn't get to have, and I feel like it healed me. Like in that moment it was like a seal, like I had completed the circle that was like incomplete when with her birth. Just being able to keep the cord intact, hold my baby on my chest, and like let the placenta come out. And I didn't want to cut it because I think it was just like, I didn't want
right.
to cut it. So we didn't. We just kept him on there carrying that bowl around for a while.
Yeah, for a while. So you carrying the baby, and I was carrying the bowl, following you
So
around.
we
It's like
essentially like waited until, and the bleeding slowed down immediately after the placenta was out.
very quickly.
So I think you like put me on a chair or something, and I sat there. The bowl was on a like a little table next to us, and like
Hmm.
just held the baby. I think I texted or called my mom at that point because he was born at 2 o'clock,
Hmm.
2:07 or something like
Yep.
that, and just let her know he was here, that he was a boy, and that was it. Like we just kind of, I
Yep.
think we waited till the cord was completely white, and I just got sick of the bowl, and then we cut the
Hmm.
cord, clamped it. We kept it long. We kept the cord like pretty long. I don't know why. I was like,
Yeah,
"Can you
fairly
feel
long.
it?" Like,
Well, we didn't. Well, the clamp was a little rough, so we didn't want to like cut it super close to him, and then
yeah,
the clamp would be rubbing against
that's
his
true. That's
belly.
true.
So yeah, we cut it pretty
Yeah,
long.
and that was it. We like became parents of two kids like that. It was like the best part is
Hmm.
like we were in our house, so Shane got the bed redone. Like you put some new sheets and stuff on there, and I put on a diaper and just essentially like stayed naked, like holding the baby on me. We didn't put a diaper on him right away, I don't think either. We just like kept him like that. I just kept him in the blanket,
Yeah, just let
just
him.
let him be a newborn baby, and took some pictures of him. And that was, we waited
Hmm.
until our daughter came home, and then she met her little brother.
Yeah,
She's like,
she was.
okay, we have a baby.
She might as well burst through the door. She was
Where
like,
is he?
"Where's I have a baby
Yeah.
brother."
And the whole time she thought it was a
Yeah,
girl.
so that was.
So I think that was a little, she's like, okay, it's a
Yeah,
boy. All right.
yes, that's a boy. And then I think we went immediately from oh look, I have a little brother to Dad,
Yeah.
can I have a
She was
snack?
like, okay, good. He's here.
And
Now I,
awesome, everybody's okay, good. Now back
yeah.
to me.
And yeah, that was it. End of story.
Yep.
And like, breastfed him. Everything went great. I never, like we said, he slept with me. I never even tried to get him to sleep on his own. I was like, he's just going to sleep on my chest because that's where babies like to sleep. And we did that for
Hmm.
weeks, and everybody got sleep, like for the most part. I mean, he definitely woke up because he's a newborn, but we were already getting like 3 to 4 hours of sleep like immediately, because he would wake up, he would just like nurse, and I would just stay like kind of laying down. Like I would do it in a reclined position and then like go back to
Hmm.
sleep. And it got to the point where I think my neck and my back was just like so uncomfortable that that's when we started to transition him to sleeping next to us, and then in
Hmm.
a bassinet. And it was just like a super, to me, like pretty smooth transition. Like I think I slept in a chair for a while, like upright, and then
Yeah.
he started to do the bassinet, and it was definitely shorter. So when he got into the bassinet, it was shorter sleep. So that was kind of like,
Hmm.
it was a trade-off though, because my neck was just like so uncomfortable after a while of doing that. But eventually, we it was good. Like we didn't take him to the doctor. We did have to have a midwife come to prove that he was like alive and that we didn't steal him. But other than that, it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Like you said, you guys were sleeping together for a while until you couldn't there, and then you were actually sleeping like in a
Yeah.
chair. And then once he moved to the bassinet, like I was able to kind of help because I would wake up because he was on my side of the bed. I would wake up, I'd change his diaper, give you a chance to like go to the bathroom or get some
Yeah.
water or something, and then come back and feed him. And then I think it was on a Friday or something like that, like pretty much like 4 or 5 days after he was born, the midwife came,
Yeah.
and she came and she just did some tests, checking his like muscle density and his tummy and
Weighed
looking at
him.
his like, weighed him, and I guess relatively looking at his vitals via, light and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
And he was perfect.
But
He was
she was,
she was really
yep, she
impressed.
was super,
She's-
yep, she was super proud of
yeah.
us, that we did it without anybody. She gave us some words of encouragement, and then she recommended a lactation
No,
consultant,
she wanted
correct?
us to come back in a couple of weeks just to make sure that he was still gaining weight because
Hmm.
he did lose quite a bit of weight when he was first
Hmm.
born. And that I think just comes from like breastfed babies, And that kind of like goes
Yeah.
into my last point that I wanted to make. What I think made all the difference in my postpartum was that I had done so much training and like preparation for myself to know that babies really only need their mothers when they're born. This is something that society really like is getting mothers confused about, where they're like fathers and mothers need to like immediately be like hand in hand in this, like so that no one feels like they're doing more and all this stuff. That's impossible, especially for a breastfeeding mother. It is literally impossible to have the father be like 50-50 in taking care of your newborn baby, especially like I said, for breastfeeding. If you're formula feeding your baby, sure, they can immediately jump in. But if you are committed to breastfeeding, you just have to accept that for the first like few really like months you are going to be solely feeding your baby, especially if you want a good solid milk supply and you don't have to like go to work right away and all those things. There's a lot of stuff that like gets murky, but like for me, just knowing that my baby was like I was all my baby needed and not holding my husband responsible for taking care like directly of the baby, it saved my mental health like just so much because it was like I already knew this going in. I didn't have the expectation that he was going to do equal stuff, and his responsibility was to take care of me. So I wanted him to make sure we had food, that I always had water next to me, that I got to take a shower when I wanted to. Like whatever it was that I needed, I wanted him to take care of me. And I was responsible for taking care of the baby. Of course, he got to bond with his son. Like he got to hold him from time to time, but I was always like, give me my baby back. Give me my baby back. And like they have a great relationship now. I can promise you, like, it did not tarnish their relationship at all because my son only wanted his mother. Like, newborns want their mothers. Okay. He doesn't know who his
Yes.
dad is. He's a foreigner. Maybe he heard his voice a little bit, but he wanted his mother. And then eventually, as he became an older baby and didn't need his mother as much, then he wanted his dad and now he loves his dad. So there's no reason to like force that and be like we need to do 50-50. Like it honestly causes more harm than good, especially when it's a new dad who doesn't know what he's doing. Like you guys both don't know what you're
Hmm.
doing and then you have a certain way that you like want to accomplish something. Maybe the dad is like not good at that and you're like getting upset about it and all these things, like expecting a mother out of a father is a setup for failure. And those are all the lessons that I learned with my daughter that I did not carry into my son, like postpartum. And it really saved us. Like, I think we had a fantastic postpartum. It was like, and I think we were all on like a hormone high for like weeks, like you and I, especially.
Yeah, probably. And I guess so. Like as coming at it from a father or dad's perspective, or the husband, like dad's perspective, you just want to be super supportive of the mom, of your wife, of your spouse there, and just like making sure like you protect her and not just like physically protecting her, like right, like I guess once upon a time, ladies would be having a baby and the guys are like standing guard at the door to make sure no one, you know, predator or person
Right.
come in, right? But just like protecting her wants and needs, right? Whatever the setting is, whether it's a free birth, whether it's with a midwife at a birth center or even at the hospital, like protecting your wife and making sure like what she wants to happen, what she needs to happen, actually do happen, and like, and kind of putting your foot down and saying like, this is what we're doing. And if you don't like this, well, I guess we're gonna have to fight about it, or it, whatever. But ultimately it's up to, you are the protector. You are tasked with making sure that she is both comfortable and her needs are being met, like I said, with the food and the water. I couldn't go through the labor for her, so all I could do is make sure that she has like nutrition and that she's hydrated, right? And make sure that there's not too many lights, and make sure she had her worship music or whatever it was. Like you are in charge of logistics as far as the birth, and you should to 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 be in your role, or like to make sure you're playing your role, playing your position by doing that, and making sure that the environment that she's in, right? Because she's the environment for the baby, you have to control the environment for her.
This actually makes
And
me wonder, like, because we've had both types of births. So we had a medical birth, we had a
mhm,
hospital birth, and then we had a free birth. How did your participation like evolve between the two? Or I don't know if that's the best question to
yeah,
ask, but like, what was your experience? How did you see it between the first and the second?
yeah. So I get like with the hospital birth, I felt like a little like less, I felt like helpless, like there was nothing I could really do for you. Like I could tell them to do stuff, but they were kind of going to do their own thing anyways. Like they're professionals in their setting, and they're going to do what they need to do because of procedure or code or whatever it is. They need to do that. So like very much like they didn't need me to be there, right? And
Mm,
I could see how that, like, one, like as a father I felt helpless, and then also like as a mother you could feel pretty lonely, because it's like I could have been in the next state
yeah.
over, and they would have did what they needed to do.
Mm,
Whereas like when we did the home birth, like everything that didn't, I guess, pertain to you and your contractions and giving birth was like on me, like running the bath water, getting you up and into the bath, like placing down the mats, keeping you hydrated, like everything else was on me. So like I was necessary in this
mm,
birth, if you will. Whereas in the hospital birth, I didn't feel as necessary. I felt useless pretty
wow.
much. Like I'm just like, here I am, like next to you, holding your hand, like watching everybody else do stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I said, with the home birth, I'm the one that's doing all the
Mm.
stuff. I cut the cord, right? I guess I cut the cord both times, but I cut I cut the cord. I held the
Yeah.
placenta, literally just walking around with you, like you get the little the IV thing that they walk around in the hospital. That was me. Um, but yeah, so I was certainly more useful the second go around than the first. And then to your point about the bonding, like luckily Connecticut, I will give Connecticut its flowers for this. They had like the family leave.
Yeah.
So for the first pretty much like what was it, like three
4
weeks?
weeks.
4 weeks, I was able to stay home with you and take care. So actually the first family leave was for
Yeah.
you, to take care of you, because I was taking care of, you from your
Mhm.
postpartum. And so it was just me, you, and the baby every day for a
Yeah.
month. Then I end up going back to work. So I was able to develop some sort of bond, like because whenever you want to get some sleep or you don't want to hold him or something, I was able to do skin to skin with him. I was able to hold him. I was able to, you know, play with
Yeah.
him, I guess as much as you could play with an infant, but just like get him some exercise, move his little
Yeah.
legs around, stuff like that. And then I went back to work for what I think you had another 6 weeks off, something
Yeah,
like
some
that.
8 weeks, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe another month off, and then you went back to work, and I took the rest of the time that I had, which was I think another 4 weeks, 5 weeks,
Yeah.
something like that. And that time it was to take care of him, to take care of a newborn. So then pretty much every day for 5 weeks, I was getting paid to stay home with my son. And like now at this point, he's about 2 months old, and he's a little more lively, I guess, than like a
Nah, he was
newborn.
older than that.
So
I think he was like 4 months at
ye-
that point. He was getting close to 4 months.
okay,
Yeah. But yes, he was doing more stuff.
okay, well, yes. So he's doing more stuff, like we're like he's truly like able, like he's like, I'm trying to like help him learn to roll over, and like I'm feeding him multiple
Yeah.
times a day now. So like, all he knew, until his mom came home, when he was complete, like he could have threw me in the trash after that. Like, but like mom would feed him, she would leave, she would go to work. It was me and him all day hanging out, doing stuff. I'm getting him his bottles. You know, the breast milk. I'm thawing him out, getting his bottle ready, giving it to him, putting him down for naps, and hanging out, cleaning the house, cooking, getting lunch ready, doing all the stuff, just kind of being like a little homemaker for the time, doing my workouts in the living room, still trying to stay
Yeah.
in shape, and yeah, so there was a extended period of time which I know not too many dads get a chance to get, but if you are home dads with your kids, your newborn, your infant, like cherish that time and really try to develop a bond with them, because I can easily say that as much as I worked and as much as I was out of the house with my daughter, it kind of like created, like, I don't want to say animosity, but there wasn't the same bond with her early on in life that that her and I have developed now, but that I had with my son at the same part of his life, right? Like I was around a lot in the first 6 months of his life, where I was more sparsely around, or like wasn't around until I came home from work with my
Yeah.
daughter. So like we were saying earlier, she was super dependent and like attached to Destynie, to her mom, and like she really didn't want too much to do with me too like often. Like maybe on the weekends, like we would be closer because I was home, I didn't go to work, so like there was a closer bond. But then like throughout the week, she's just like, oh yeah, you again. And with my son, like we've just always been close because I've spent so much time with him in his relatively young
Yeah.
life here already.
It's a really good point. The opportunity for dads to really bond with their kids can be scarce. And
Hmm.
especially like as they, in the beginning a newborn, it's challenging, especially for breastfed
Right.
infants. But like you said, when he got a little bit older, you did have that time, and that made a big difference in your connection. So,
Hmm.
okay.
And then yeah, I mean, it just gave me the chance to like learn him, like learn what cry means what,
Yeah.
and oh, it's this time of the day, like he's ready for a bottle or he's ready for a nap, and like it's just like I felt with our daughter, there was times where I'm like, I don't know what she's doing, like here you take her, like what does this mean? And then there's other times where like I could hear him crying, and I was like maybe he'd have a certain cry when he woke up from a nap. It was like, oh, he's
Yeah.
hungry,
Yeah.
or oh no, he's just ready to get
Yeah.
up, or he
Yes.
pooped, as a poop
Yes.
cry, right? So like it definitely was way more in tune with what was going on, right? Because when
Mm.
you have a little baby who doesn't talk, right, everything's like audio cues or like timing cues and stuff like that. So I was definitely more in tune with what he had going on than I was with my daughter, because I just didn't necessarily have that time to
Yeah.
bond.
Ah, okay. I think we're good. Yeah,
Yeah.
and things are still going great. So soon, when we finally get sleep, maybe we'll have one more kid.
Maybe,
But
yeah.
first, let's work on the sleep.
Thank you for tuning in to The Rooted Mama. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired, supported, and a little more rooted in your own motherhood journey. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mama or mama to be. Remember, motherhood is a journey best shared. So let's keep growing together. Until next time, stay strong, stay supported, and stay deeply rooted.